Okay, so I wanted to explain a brief summary of the life cycle of Plasmodium. So Plasmodium is a genus of protists that cause the disease malaria. The most common one is Plasmodium falciparum. And what happens is that this species this genus has a really complex life cycle, and it starts in the salivary glands of a mosquito. So in these salivary glands, you're going to have a very specific life cycle called the sporozoid, right? And so what happens is this mosquito is then going to bite someone, like right here on the shoulder, right? That's our mosquito biting this guy. And he injects these sporozoids into this person's bloodstream. What's crazy is that in a half an hour, these sporozoids travel all the way to the liver, where they start to infect the cells of the liver. It only takes them a half an hour to get there. Once they invade the liver, you'll get a sporozoid cell that invades the liver like this. After it invades the liver, it actually undergoes this really interesting process called schizogony, where instead of undergoing the regular cell division where one cell turns into two, you'll have a cell that divides and produces like tons of different nuclei inside of a single cell, like 20 different nuclei. And this is a process called schizogony. After that happens, these cells, all these different nuclei emerge all at once to produce all these different cells inside of these liver cells, which are ultimately going to rupture the liver cells and emerge. Now, after they emerge from these ruptured liver cells, they actually have a new name, and their new name is called a merozoite. So they're going to emerge from these liver cells like this, and I'm going to draw them in a different color because after they emerge, they have this new name called merozoites. Because all these merozoites emerge from the liver. Now, keep in mind, it takes about almost 2 weeks for this process to occur. Half an hour for the sporozoids to get to the liver. Once they invade the liver, they divide for about 2 weeks before they emerge as these merozoites. And when they do this, this causes a lot of liver damage. So much liver damage that we'll learn that the liver really can't handle the later demands of the infection. These merozoites leave the liver where they enter into the bloodstream. Once they enter into the bloodstream, they start to invade red blood cells, which I've drawn here. And so you'll have these merozoites that invade the red blood cells. After they invade the red blood cells, they actually turn into a different ring-like form called a trophozoite. And this is a really easy thing to see in like a blood smear. It's an easy way to determine if you have this infection. The trophozoite then will undergo another round of schizogony to produce a whole bunch more of these merozoites, which will eventually explode the red blood cell, where they will infect another red blood cell. And this cycle just keeps going and going. And that's when you feel really sick. So it's after these merozoites leave the liver cells where you get this rupture of blood cells, makes you super sick, you get the fever, you get the chills. All the broken parts of these broken red blood cells kind of get distributed all throughout the body. The liver's job is to break those down. It can't handle it because it was damaged from the original infection, and so you get jaundice, which is a buildup of a protein called bilirubin. All right. Some of these emerging merozoites that come out of the red blood cell, they turn into our final form, which is called a gametocyte. Okay, and those gametocytes are going to invade another red blood cell. Right? That's what is in pink. These gametocyte-infected red blood cells are then distributed all throughout the body, and another mosquito bites this person again. So this is mosquito number 2 is going to bite the person right here. Eat some of the blood. That's what mosquitoes like to do. This is mosquito number 1, this is mosquito number 2. It eats the blood of this infected person, including some of these cells that contain the gametocytes. Well, after it ingests those red blood cells that contain gametocytes, they're going to be in his belly right here. If we zoom in on that, you'll notice that the red blood cell that contains the gametocyte, once it's in the belly, those gametocytes, they will undergo fertilization to produce a zygote. We'll draw the zygote in this blue color. So you got the gametocytes that undergo fertilization to produce the zygote. The zygote then is going to emerge out of that blood cell. It's going to make that blood cell explode, and then that zygote emerges. Once the zygote emerges out of that blood cell, remember he's still in that mosquito's stomach, then this zygote is going to implant itself into the wall of the mosquito's gut. It's going to grow bigger into another form called an ookinete. The ookinete starts producing a whole bunch of new sporozoites, so we're back to step one. And these sporozoites start to come out of this ookinete, where they migrate back to the salivary gland, and we start all over. And that's the life cycle of Plasmodium. Now we talked a little bit about vaccines. I'm not going to go over that completely. The current vaccine attacks this stage, the sporozoite phase that enters into the liver, so it tries to prevent that from happening. Other vaccines have targeted different parts of the life cycle with different degrees of success. Thank you.